What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you want to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Not that he had to do anything, really, but it was his magicules that kept the dungeon environment running. His converting magic ore to magisteel for us, in and of itself, generated huge profits for Tempest. I didn't think it right to try to cheat him.
Ah, wonderful. I knew I could count on you, Rimuru. I see that I'll always be safe in your hands.
Don't go wasting it, you two.
Of course not.
Yeah, of course not. I know how to save money.
Knowing how, Ramirez, doesn't mean much if you don't do it. But they both looked pretty gratified, so I opted not to rain on their parade.
Of course, they're free to squander at least a little of it. Money, after all, is something you save because you know how much fun it is to use.
Ooh, yes, yes.
Agreed Ramirez.
That's such an astute insight, Mjolmile.
Molly, if you coddle Ramirez like that, she's gonna run with it. Trainee is a great example of how not to handle her.
I suppose so, yes. And I have experience working at that takoyaki stand. Now I see what a noble thing work is, as well as how vital money can be. Rimuru, you worry about me far too much.
You're one to talk. I was the one who arranged that whole damn takoyaki stand for you, and Mjolmile pulled more than a few strings to make it happen. All you did was grill up the damn things. I had to mentally restrain myself from saying all that. There's no better teacher than experience, I suppose. Let 'em do what they want. Even if it blows up in their faces, as long as they learn something from it, we're good.
So, Mjolmile, how are things looking outside the labyrinth?
I asked. I knew things were moving fast around town, but how were things really going? I was curious. Mjolmile smirked at me.
Brisk indeed. That's the only word for it. The festival is long over, but really, we haven't seen any major drop in our population. We now have a pretty steady clip of merchants going in and out, and I think that's going to be quite stable for the time being.
Would you say the town is starting to function as a stopping point for trade?
Precisely. Merchants are starting to come see me so they can begin to do business here. They're not going through intermediaries all the time, either, so Sir Rigard has a rather full schedule these days. From free guild members to big-name merchants from the Western nations, they're all inquiring about opening up shop here.
Sounds better than I thought, then. The Founders Festival was meant to prime the pump, and in terms of attracting people, it was a big success. Now the labyrinth I'd made for fun was building a good representative of its own, winning favor with all our visitors. After that, all we had to do was fine-tune things to keep the money flowing. I wanted people to challenge the labyrinth, earn money, then spend it on our nation's goods, not just our inns and taverns, but weapons, armor, and other consumables. I'm sure our merchants from other nations would play a big role in that. The Free Guild purchases monster materials, then deposits the money with us. Foreign merchants would bring us rare and exotic goods, no doubt, and at the end of it all, our town would be livelier than ever. Give it enough time, and people the world over would know just how fine this nation's goods are. We've got a lot of exclusive things to offer, rare foods and liquor, all the cuisine Shuna was developing, the gear from Kurobi's workshop. Even Kaijin's apprentices were helping flesh out the selection. That wasn't even all of it, and the selection was only going to grow. Word about all this could easily spread by now. Even without advertising, we'd have no problem attracting customers, and at the end of it, people the world over would accept us and see us as necessary. I was sure of it. What's more, some of the gear made in Kurobi's workshop was on sale as special merchandise at certain shops. The gear circulating in these shops was doubtlessly going to generate attention, and while different stores dealt in different levels of quality, if you had the money, you could buy it for yourself, although anything from them rated rare or higher would be available for purchase only on floor 95. I'm sure some people might doubt this gear's capabilities, but that wasn't a big problem. We've got a place right by here, after all, that lets you test out what you bought. We rented it out to people in the labyrinth, even, although not too many people had taken advantage yet. It'd only be a matter of time, either way, before they used that gear and began talking up how good it was. Little by little, we were building trust in our nation. Trust is more important than profit. I'm not about to go into the red for the sake of trust, but as long as we stayed in the black overall, I'd call that a success. We're not in this to make money, we're in it to get our nation accepted.
Sounds like exactly what we aimed for. Even if Tempest's a monster nation, if merchants can see profits, they'll come for us. The labyrinth's seeing more and more visitors, and I think we can build a relationship with the Western nations, too.
Mjolmile nodded.
Smooth sailing, indeed. And yes, more and more visitors are coming. People know it's a monster nation run by a demon lord, and they're still coming. Just as you surmised, I think it's safe to say that people are trusting us.
He was in firm agreement. But he's a funny guy, that Mjolmile. He said us just now. From that, it seems to me that despite being human, he's fully looking at matters from our perspective. I'm glad for that. We can't earn trust overnight. Trust is gained in drops and lost in buckets, that's the truth. And maybe we're stimulating people's greed to bring them here, but there's no easier thing to connect to trust. If you think that someone can address and satisfy your desires, that's the same thing as earning their trust. Mjolmile's a good example of that. We're connected by a desire-based trusting relationship. Do good work and receive just profit from it, that's really important, I think. And, of course, it's no fun if that's a one-way street. You need to look at the other side of the equation and figure out if you can trust them. Right now, we've got the perfect environment for training ourselves on that. We've got a teacher in Mjolmile, and I'm gonna study as much as I can under him. Then I paid Ramirez and Veldora their salaries. They both seemed satisfied with the amount. I told them not to squander it, but have they thought at all about how they'll use it? The question weighed on my mind as we kept discussing matters.
Hey, do you think we could set up a space for my personal use?
Sure.
Ramirez replied to me.
But what for? You want to do some research too?
No, it's more about development in my case. I have a few ideas in mind that I want to try building.
In terms of research, Kurabe was way ahead of me. His workshop was in the southwest part of town, along with the workshops of those apprentices he'd deemed worthy of going independent. That district was seeing weaponsmiths from all over now, hearing the rumors and building their own forges and repair shops to compete. It was a full-fledged industrial zone by now, and as a result, it was getting hard to keep new discoveries made there a secret. The atmosphere was more convivial among those artisans, amicably sharing in one another's neat new stuff, so classified project development wasn't possible. Instead, my order for Kurabe was to develop new weapons and armor that nobody could imitate. Besides, when conducting research, I didn't actually need a physical space. I have the good Professor Raphael with me. What I did need, though, was a development facility to implement the blueprints in my mind.
Sure thing. I'll get it set up today.
Ramirez was eager to please. So now the 100th level on the bottom began with Veldora's Grand Hall and continued on to rooms housing a plethora of research facilities. In terms of keeping the space defended, not to mention preventing leaks, I couldn't ask for someplace safer. In fact, it was impregnable. Let's use it for really important R&D from now on, then.
But what are you trying to make down there, Rimuru?
Ramirez asked me.
It's a secret.
Huh? But I really want to know. You're always cranking out all kinds of crazy things, so?
Indeed you are.
Said Veldora.
There will be no secrets between you and me.
Oh, great. Who decided that? And I knew full well Ramirez and Veldora were doing this and that behind my back, too. But they were always so persistent with things like this, and I didn't have the energy to try to deceive them, so I gave them an answer.
Their bodies. I've been thinking about providing physical vessels for trainees' sisters.
Plus the ones Diablo requested, of course. If I needed 1,000, painstakingly carving them by hand wasn't gonna happen. I needed a setup that allowed mass production.
And give me as much space as you can, by the way, okay? I want to try out a few different things.
Coming right up. Anything for my faithful underlings.
Ramirez was emphasizing the underling part, but she agreed, nonetheless. Good thing I let her in on part of my plans. Now I'll have the space to try all sorts of things. Up to now, I didn't have the time to make the things I came up with. Now I could start implementing some of those ideas. The thought made me grin. I spent the next few days setting up my development equipment and tapping Raphael's full abilities for the first time in a while. And copying all sorts of things within my stomach. Any tech I wanted to pass on to future generations couldn't rely on this, of course. But I didn't intend to share it with anyone anyway, so all inhibitions were out the window. Then I heard someone calling me from behind the door. Eesh. I was just getting into a groove, too.
Report. You have not communicated with the outside world for several days. There is a possibility that something has happened.
Come to think of it, I had been skipping out on meals, hadn't I? Raphael's observation reminded me that maybe I'd been a little too caught up in my own world. Even if nothing was going on at all, it's natural that Shion or Shuna would get worried. Better make my rounds, now was a good stopping point anyway. Replying to the voice I heard, I left my research center. As expected, Shuna and Shion were right there.
Sir Rimuru, are you all right?
I was worried.
You didn't even appear for the meals you enjoy each day, so I thought that something might have happened.
Ah, so they were concerned for me.
Sorry, I got a little lost in thought.
No, not at all. As long as you're safe.
Shion is right. With all the hard work you've been doing, of course, nobody will complain if you want to take some more time off.
Once they saw I was fine, they were all smiles again. Now I felt kind of bad. They really cared a lot for me.
Well, I'll make sure to check in at least once a day from now on.
That would make me very happy, Sir Rimuru.
Yeah, better not get too wrapped up in my hobbies. Having someone worried for you is, in itself, a blessing. As I let the remorse wash over me, Shion suddenly spoke up, as if just recalling something.
By the way, Sir Mjolmile has been searching for you since yesterday.
Huh?
Then he should have called for me.
He did, but there was no response. I apologize. We should have been louder.
No, sorry I didn't notice. I'll set up a doorbell or something next time.
Shion didn't seem too perturbed about it. I guess she didn't think it was too important. But after seeing how Mjolmile was still hot to see me the next day, she grew a bit more concerned and talked to Shuna about it. Apparently, it was labyrinth business, but Shion didn't know what kind. Did he figure Shion wouldn't understand it if he explained it to her, or was it something he was reluctant about letting Shion in on? I wondered about that. Guess Diablo was a lot more talented than I thought, though. At a time like this, he would have absolutely found a way to attract my attention. In fact, he probably would have joined me at my research desk. Maybe that made Diablo more selfish than Shion, if you think about it, but enough about that. Mjolmile's waiting for me. Shuna had prepared a boxed sandwich for my lunch. Shion brewed up some tea. I was enjoying both as I waited for my finance minister.
Ah, Sir Rimuru, I was looking for you. We've got big news from the labyrinth.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shoutout to Wabbalabadubdub, Ice B, Psycho Cat, Trev, James Yap, Viel Cayanes, Mac Digandelera, Anonymous DCOR, Michael King Pangilinan, and last but not least, shoutout to the F2P guy. I'll see you guys in the next video.